back to Pink Cat Creations, everyone. Today I am going to start a grungy vintage journal. So I'm going to kind of start from the beginning and take you through, you know, the entire process, and we'll make a series of it. So the way I'm going to do this journal, it's going to be quite large. Probably about, you know, a little bit smaller than a letter size piece of paper. And the way I'm going to do that, because, you know, normally what we would do is you take your normal piece of paper and then fold it, and then either, you know, make it narrow or leave it the same size. So because this is going to be a larger journal, I'm going to be, and it is going to be grungy and vintage, so all of these pages are going to be torn, etc. But I mean, I'll take you through that. But what I'm gonna do is each of the pages are pretty much going to be sewn onto these pieces of fabric. So stitch down there, stitch down there, and then this would then become, you know, one page basically, and then we'll fold those over. So that's how I'm going to create this. So these are it's just an old sheet that I had, and I made sure to rip it, you know, to give it that nice vintage kind of grungy look on the edges. And the sheet was already like a creamy beigey color, so I was going to tea dye these, but I've changed my mind and I think I'll just leave them as they are. So the pages, however, I do need to tea dye, so we'll do that. So what I'm going to do is I've decided I want 3 signatures, and I want to do 5 kind of folded pages in each signature, which means I need 10 pages per signature, because once obviously 2 pages are attached to the piece of fabric, then I'm counting that as 1. So I'm going to need a total then of 30 individual pages that are going to go into the book. So I've kind of gone through and just pulled out a whole bunch of leftover stuff. I've got some old book pages. I've got pages from stenciling books, some music paper. It's going to be, like I said, because it's grungy, I'm not using any kits. There might be the odd page that is, you know, from a kit, because I like the image. This is actually a page from an adult's colouring book. I've got some vellum. This is actually tea dyed already, so I don't need to do that, but the majority of this is not tea dyed. Just got some lined paper. This is just, I'm not sure where this image is from, and some plain white paper, just a page from an old historical, like tracing your family history book, some general, I think this is like ledger paper. And then I've got some more music paper, some dictionary pages, and yeah, that's pretty much another book page. This is a page just from a botanical book. I really like that image, it's pretty. I've got a glassine bag, well, it's kind of glassine-ish, paper bag that I'm going to turn into a page, and then this is the only other image I think that we've got. So the first thing I'm going to do is tea dye all of the paper first. Then once that's dry, then I'm going to tear the pages down. Because it's got grungy, I don't want anything to be cut or, you know, to look too linear. Okay, so I'm going to just take you through how I do my tea dyeing. Very simple. I've got a big cup with 1 tablespoon of instant coffee, and I think I've got about 8 tea bags in here. And then I just fill the cup up with some nice hot water. The heat, you know, helps with drawing out the tea bags. I mean, if you use cold water, the tea bags don't draw out as nicely. Okay, and then, so that's some hot water, and then we've got just an old oven tray that I use. This is cold water, and then I just pour, once this is, you know, had time to draw all the tea out, then I kind of mix it with the cold water, and then it's pretty much ready to go. I don't like it to be hot. I mean, this is cold because because the water that was in here was cold. If you use hot water, it tends to tear the paper. So I like to use it when it's cold. And then I just do about 5 pages at a time, dip them in. If you take the whole bunch and put them in together, then the tea kind of doesn't get between the pages. So I like to do it page by page. And just make sure that you get the whole page in there, soak it nicely. I probably added a little bit too much water. Anyway, does not matter. Some of these pages, like I said, are already tea dyed, so I don't need to dye them all. I'm actually going to do 10 pages. Actually, that's probably 8 already. And then once all of these are dried, then I will tear them up, or tear the edges, like I said. Now, I am pretty lucky. I don't bake my pages in the oven after they've been tea dyed. That is just, this is too much like hard work. So I am lucky that I do have quite a lot of space in my craft room. I've got a lot of table space. So I will just take each page and individually lay it out, and then by tomorrow morning they will all be dry. And now if you do want a darker stain, then just add more. I don't like the smell of coffee, so I don't use coffee often, but I do find that if you mix the coffee with the tea, it does give it a really nice color. If you don't want, like, because I'm going for a grungy look, that's why I added the coffee, but normally I wouldn't. I would normally just use tea because it does give a lighter bit of a stain. Okay, I'm just doing all of them, as you can see. I put too much water in here to start off with, so I don't think my stain is going to be that dark. So it's fine if they soak for a little bit longer. Okay, then I've just got a couple of other pieces here that I want to, just taking some plain paper, because then I'll use these to make tags and extra things for the journal. Okay, oh, and then I've also got some doilies, which I'm going to tea stain. I don't know how I'm going to use them yet, but this is another bag. It's a really long bag, but yeah, I'll figure that out. See how we're going to use that. Okay. Right, so I mean, there's two ways you could do this. You could take all the items out and just pile them on top of each other. If you've got a few days to wait for it to dry, then you can do it that way. Or if you lay them out individually, then they'll dry quicker. So in my case, I am going to be laying them out individually because I want to get started with this as soon as possible. So I'm just going to take all of these out now, one at a time, lay them on the table, and then I'll be back once they're dry. Right, so I'm back. All of the papers have been tea dyed. So now what I'm going to do is, so I've divided them. I've got 30 sheets. Remember, I'm going to do 3 signatures and I need 10 pages per signature. So I've divided them into my three groups for my signatures, and I'm just going to get to pretty much tearing. So as mentioned before, I do want this journal to be as grungy as possible, and I'm really not too bothered about how it tears. The grungier, the better. So I'm just gonna, some of them, like I'm not gonna tear all the sides, and I'm not gonna tear the side that is gonna be stitched along the piece of fabric for the spine. So I will always leave the left side untorn. Some of them are going to be, you know, turn out bigger than others. I want them all to be different sizes, and no, I don't want any conformity. That as it is. And this one, it's a small page, so I'm just gonna, it's already small, I'm just gonna do this side because I don't want the page too wide. Okay, and that is signature 3. Right. So now I'm going to stitch these pages onto the fabric strips. What did I do with them? Okay, so these are the fabric strips which are going to create the spine for each page. Okay, so let's start with signature 1. So what I actually want to do is I want to take, because these are in the order that I kind of want them to be in the book. So this first page will be stitched here, and then I'm going to take the last page in the batch and put that there. So, and then the next one is going to be the top page and then the bottom page in the pack. Oops. And I think I'm going to leave just about, I think between a quarter and an eighth of an inch, you know, between the two pages. Actually, I think an eighth of an inch would be fine, actually. And I don't think it matters, you know, where on the fabric I stitch, like how high or how low, because once it's stitched on, you can just move it around. I think just kind of make sure we've got the same distance at the top and the bottom. So I have made a journal like this before, and it actually turned out really nice. It is a little tedious, you know, to do all the stitching, but it's just so worth it to have a nice big journal, you know, unless you can find big paper, you know, like the bigger size paper, like an A3, or then you can still make the big journals and fold the pages over. But not very many people have got A3 paper available, so okay, so that's going to be signature 1. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stitch all of these onto the spine, and then I'm going to do the same for signatures 2 and 3, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I finished stitching all of the pages onto the fabric, and I've kind of just put them in the order that I want them. Now I still got to decide if I want to do it as 3 separate signatures or just one big signature. I've left about, let's see, yeah, I've left about an eighth of an inch. Some of them are a little bit bigger between the pages. And when I gather them all up together, it pretty much seems like I would be able to stitch it as one signature. I think what I'm going to have to do though is as we go along and see how full it gets, I might end up then separating it. But for now it's like this. So what I'm going to do now is I need to make it grungy. So I am going to, I think, ink around each page, and then I might also use some of the vintage stain just to kind of here and there put some put some aging. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this on, I don't want to do this exact thing on all of them because this makes it really grungy. Just on the odd page, but then every other page, or the ones where I don't do that, then I'll just use my normal tool. It doesn't, this tends to put on quite a lot of ink. Okay, so this is the last page that I am inking up around the edges, and then I'm going to randomly choose some pages just to stain, maybe put some, I don't know, splashes or something on. We'll see what it is that I choose to do. Okay. Right, so this is our bundle. Okay. Okay, I will put the link to how I make the stain in the down below, so that you can see how I make that. Very easy. Brush it off. Okay, I'm just going to do like random, not on every page. I think also, if I'd used coffee stain, it would have been a little darker rather than the tea stain. But I don't like the smell of the coffee. Hence the reason I chose tea to stain with. But the coffee definitely does make a darker stain. And this solution does have glue in it. So if you're doing what I'm doing, you've just got to be careful that your pages don't end up sticking together. That's why I'm using this to kind of just wipe the excess off so it's not too wet. Okay, let's do some brushes here. Okay, so I've split it into 3 signatures because I don't think one signature is actually going to be suitable, because it's just going to start to bulk up and it's going to be hard to stitch it all in at once. So I've divided it into 3, got all the pages. So now we're going to start, I think I'll start with like some stenciling and some trim, lace, things like that. So when we come back next time, that's what we'll do. So thanks everyone for joining, and if you want to follow along, then hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.